Women were very active and huge participants in both World War I and World War II, by taking on roles that reached beyond their traditional gender expectations, collecting extra clothes and food for soldiers, and attending to the wounded. Before the war, women were viewed as housewives who cooked, cleaned, and took care of the children. Women were not thought of highly, and men were seen as much more superior and powerful. During and after the results of war, women's responsibilities had increased, and the view upon their role in society drastically changed, especially because women proved they were capable of participating and succeeding in the fields men usually worked in, such as manufacturing and weaponry. Women saved many lives by providing soldiers with food and clothing, by persuading citizens to decrease the use of their daily items, and through medical attention to the wounded. Nurse Helen Fairchild was born on November 21st in 1885 in central Pennsylvania and graduated as a nurse from Pennsylvania Hospital in 1914. A month after America declared war on April 6, 1917, also known as World War I, she joined the American Expeditionary Force and volunteered to go overseas along with 63 other nurses. Helen was sent to a location in France where she cared for 2,000 wounded soldiers while under fire. She had been a long-time sufferer of abdominal pain, but the condition had gotten worse during the war, which some people think might have been a result of a combination of her stressful working conditions and exposure to mustard gas. She underwent surgery in January 1918, but fell into a coma and died 5 days later. Flora Sandys was the only official British female combatant in the First World War. She was an adventurous woman, and before the war she went through Central America to visit her brother, who was helping to build the Panama Canal. Flora Sandys was the daughter of a clergyman, and she enjoyed shooting and riding as a young girl. She regretted being female, and to prove this, her autobiography begins with the words,
"When a very small child, I used to pray every night that I might wake up in the morning and find myself a boy."
She worked as a secretary in London before 1914 and received elementary medical training in the First Aid Nursing Yeomanry and the St. John's Ambulance Brigade. In August 1914, she joined a small party of nurses sailing from London, bound for Serbia, which by then had found itself at war with Austria-Hungary. In 1916, she was promoted to the rank of sergeant before being badly wounded and temporarily blinded by a grenade. In June 1919, the Serbian parliament passed legislation enabling her to become the first woman to be commissioned in the Serbian army. Flora Sandys got married to a Russian emigre who died in 1941. Flora died 15 years later in 1956. Women's actions in the past and their contribution to war helped raise their social status. They started gaining more rights and becoming more equal to men. They eventually earned the right to vote and were able to get jobs that were incorporated with the government. Many women became political leaders, and it became more acceptable for women to go to college. Women were no longer looked down upon. Today, in the 21st century, in the United States, we can say women have become equal to men in most opportunities. Martha McSally was born in 1966, and she was the first woman pilot in the U.S. Air Force to fly in combat and to serve as a squadron commander. On her distinguished service record, she said,
"I hope I am a role model to both men and women because we are a fighting force and should not be concerned with the differences between us."
These women were the pioneers who paved the way forward for us to become an integral part of the future.